All right, so we got the logs all peeled up. This is a full round log. This is gonna be for a header on the roof. We have some poles buried in the ground, and these will sit on top of the post. And then we'll have the roof purlins over there, we'll lay on top. So first thing we gotta do is get a layout. So what we have to work with logs is the fact that it's tapered and that they're not perfectly straight. So for instance, this log end measures out about 13 inches in diameter. The other end measures only 9 inches in diameter. So you can't really just measure from the edge. You have to go from the center out. So first thing we're gonna do is get our layout done. And so I found how I want the log to sit for the header. Like I want this as the top side of the header. I want this as the exposed bottom side. Okay, so we're gonna find our center point now. 13 inches, so 6.5. Got 13.5, so about 6.25 roughly. I get a crisscross. And we're going to establish. Now, before I roll the log ever again, on both ends, I need to get my level line done. So there we go, line up to my vertical level. And then I'll do the same thing horizontally. Okay, so that gives me something to reference off of. Now on this log, the roof pitch is going this way, down. So we got the big end done. Now we're gonna go lay out the bottom end. Once we get the what I guess you'd call that the top end, it's a smaller diameter. We'll get our marks done, come back down here. It'll make sense in just a moment. So now we have a substantially smaller end.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, by a lot. So you have to consider both sides. So there we got 9.25, so about 4 1/8 roughly is the center. Got 9.5, so actually 4 3/4. 4.5. There we go. So get our plumb lines done. Okay, so now this side, I barely need to get any on this side. So if I go 4.5, now we're gonna set it at a 212 pitch. So there we go. And there's barely anything on this side at all. Okay, now let's go to the other side. So let's say and this is just for a reference. Now we're going to go down 4 inches. I should have marked that bottom on there on the other side. All right, so this is the bottom side. The post is going to sit there. Let's see, I think I did this roof angle wrong direction. I was thinking of the beam going the other way. Okay, so now that I worked from the center out, regardless of how much bigger the diameter is, you know, even if it's 16 inches, as long as you work from the center out with the same measurements, essentially it would be like working with a square beam. So now we're gonna get the few chalk lines snapped. Okay, go up a little. Yep, it'll work. Okay, so what we're doing now is our 2 marks. I actually had to lower our layout a little bit because the log had a dip. So I lowered it down 3/4 of an inch. But my layout on this side, my layout on this side, I have it in line now. You want it somewhat level just for eyeball reasons, but it doesn't actually have to be 100% level, because here, all that matters is now essentially when Josh pulls that string way out, from end to end, you can see, and I don't know if the camera really shows that, but if you kind of like level right here, and you can kind of see how to go down just a hair, Josh. A little more, keep going. Ooh, a little more. All right, let me show you here. Right there, you can see that line. So now, if I'm eyeballing it, straight across from end to end, down just a hair more. All right, let go. I got it on there for the most part. So the problem is a dip in it right there, and I need it level. And rather than trying to cut deeper and deeper, if I spin it 90 degrees and let the dip, rather than dipping down for the root beam, it dips outward. So we'll make this quick. So we rotated the log in a better way. Now it's actually straight. So we found our center point, which is 13 inches. So we got 6.5. And we did our layout on the small one first because the small one is the most you can go off of. So we got, for our top side, for our roof pitch, we'll go 4.5. And then our bottom spot where the log will sit will be 4 inches. Yes, it does. That pine smell right there. Yeah. Okay, so now do our roof pitch again. Yeah, this works a lot better because the log already had like a weird shape right there, so this is gonna work out good. And then I draw for the rest of it an 8x8 layout for my perimeter. That will make sense later on. But while everything's level, let's get that. So that's layout's done. All right, so now, all right, Josh, I'll have you tilt it back to this guy. Okay, so now we are getting to the point of making our notches. These are going to be the flat spots. So right now the header beam is actually inverted upside down. So the post that comes out of the ground will actually sit on this spot. Imagine just being upside down. So we make a flat level spot here, and that's what that chalk line running all the way down is for. And our next post is positioned at about 19 foot 6 inches. But this is what we're gonna achieve. I'm gonna show you how to do this. Make a nice clean cut. That's only with a chainsaw right there. We did not use a grinder, any skill saws, and you can see just how flat. I mean, look at that. I haven't even like sweep super perfect yet, and it's still. So we can show you with a chainsaw how to make a nice flat cut. So let's get started. I found this by pulling from the end, you know, whatever your measurements are. Okay, so here's my red line that we snapped. So this line right here, and you can see on both sides, there's 2 lines. One here and one over here. And essentially that line is the same plane from that cut all the way to down there. So like I said, you gotta work from the center out. So anyways, my cut is gonna be 20-inch wide flat spot because this splits between another post. So first thing, I'll color in the chalk line. It's a little easier to see when it's nice and dark. This chalk line kind of disappears there, so just follow it with my eye. There we go. Okay, and then I like to come back. Now what we're gonna do, that was a single sweep. We're gonna do here a double sweep. And our angle is coming down. I like to go about 4 inches. So that's 4 inches. Then kind of imagine your angle. Do the same thing, 4 inches. All right, so those are just a guideline right there. Now the next step here. This cut line, this is what we're gonna chainsaw to, but we wanna make sure we don't lose that line. The trick is use a razor blade and have the blade point upward. And also a good advice right here, hand razor blade, don't do that way, because someday the blade will slip. That's gonna be nasty. So always, yeah, I make that, I've never done it before, but I've always seen, I mean, because so many times where I'm cutting it, like, will slip off, especially on drier logs. Dry logs, it likes to slip off. This is nice green log, so it sticks in there, but dry, and I'm like, all the time, like, man, that's why I don't put my hands there. So always.
I felt it down below.
Yeah, keep your hands behind your cut. So anyways, we're cutting upward. The idea is cutting upward. It gives a chamfer for your chainsaw. It'll make sense later on. So we'll cut this right on the top side of the line, point up. Okay, I got that side. I'll do the same here. All right, so that's scored. Now we're gonna get it cut. So let me gear up for that.
As soon as you said that, I start sweating.
A hardcore ER visit real quick.
Oh, easy.
All top of your fingers sliced off with a razor blade.
Oh my gosh, just the thought of it.
If your chain is dull, don't try to do this work. It needs to be nice and sharp. So I just sharpened it up right before my first cut.
Don't try this at home, kids.
First cut, this was a little choppier than I normally like. I kind of did a rough job, but that's all right. So you can see I run, you know, normally when you get good, you can stay like an 1/8 inch above the line. I went a little fatter than I need to, but if you're beginners, staying high above the line is the best thing to do. So now the next thing is called sweeping, plus a lot smaller. You know, during this sweeping, electric battery chainsaws are actually really nice for this versus a big gas one, but I'm gonna take the angle of the bar and kind of get right up to the line on both sides, and then we're going to use the flat part through the center. So this was kind of a shallow cut. A little dirty on the screen. So the deeper cuts are actually a lot easier, like when there's less wood, it's a little harder to control. And a smaller chainsaw helps out a lot. I often will have like 2 different chainsaws, a bigger gas one. And then I like to have a little battery, an Echo battery chainsaw for doing the sweeping. I need new chains for it, so I don't have it right now, but it's so much lighter. You don't have to worry about over revving it because it's electric. Those things work so nice, but this is what you want for your finish. From here, we'll use a grinder with a sanding disc, sand it down all flat. So next step, I'm gonna roll it over and cut multiple notches like this for our roof rafters.